welcome back. You may. So I'm back to the Dwarven Fortress that I started last week, called Otamlòr, which is Dwarven for Nosetools. As I recall, when we left things last week, nothing was going horrifically wrong because we managed to settle down under the surface fairly effectively, start building things. While there were weird undead creatures out on the surface, they were not able to get in. And
sorry, I'm just using those two.
Thank you, Simon. And so we were. Everyone was thus reasonably happy. My major problem is that I have a quantity of vermin around because we don't have any cats, as I recall. So yes, in our food store, which is embarrassingly full of plump helmets, I have a swarm of flies, indeed several swarms of flies, because there is nothing to catch them. I think they eat all kinds of vermin, so that includes flies. There are only, I think, 2 domesticated creatures that eat vermin, and that's cats and peregrine falcons. So my kind of hope is that we'll get a trade caravan along shortly, and we'll be able to buy some cats. This, of course, requires that the trade caravan successfully arrive in the fortress and not, e.g., get eaten by the local undead along the way. But there are no undead out there at all at the moment. There's an eagle and a stingray. So, maybe it'll go quite well. So I think there's a kind of thing that I need to do thus, which is to build a trade depot and in such a way that we can isolate it from the outside world in case the outside world gets all undead at us. And we want it to be fairly close to the surface so that the traders can get into it. And we want it not to be... but we want it not to be too well connected to our fortress so that we can cut it off. Or rather, we want indeed it to be cut off most of the time. I also think I should redesign my rubbish dump because it's not going to work properly like it currently is.
What are the problems with the current design?
So the problem with the current design, which I found with my test fortress, but then didn't actually improve for this one, well, it has several problems. One is that it's flooded, which is not a very serious problem, but means that things can swim rather closer to the surface than I'd like. And it's going to be kind of hard to extract anything from it if ever I have to. More seriously, it doesn't have a lid, so miasma that gets generated in it will fill the room above, and indeed things. If things thrown into it come back to life, which is after all why I've got it, so that I can throw into it things that might come back to life, they might be able to climb out. And that would be bad. Whereas if we could have a lid on it, then that would not be a problem. But if we put the lid in the floor directly above, because there's this hole here which has a floor, there's a floor here which has a hole in the middle which goes down into the rubbish dump. If we put a lid directly there, then when it's closed, the dwarves will not understand where they should throw their rubbish, and won't throw it into the hole. So what we need to do is have a 1 square deep hole that they throw the rubbish into, and then a hatch below that's operated by some means, a lever, or probably more likely a pressure plate that the dwarves will walk over, that will then open it in order to drop things in and then close again automatically. So I think what I should do... So essentially I'm constructing a dwarven scale pedal bin. So what I think I should do is, among other things, dig out a new, more carefully designed rubbish bin that will not have quite so many of the problems of the existing one. So I think that my two main bits of digging at the moment are a trade depot and a new rubbish bin. I think the new rubbish bin, let's make the new rubbish bin a low priority, and it should essentially be the same size as the old one, because I'm building every room the same size. And it should go there. Or rather, that will be the upper room, and then the problem is we don't actually have anything connected to there at the moment, so let's just, well, yes, the lower room is going to be yes, so hang on, the next floor, do we have any, we don't generally expand the fortress in that direction, so let's just go one floor down and dig that way, and then this way. And then here put a downward staircase that will be part of the kind of construction arrangements for it. And then I think I just want a shaft down the centre for now. So that, yes. Actually, I wonder if I just go vertically down in the middle of, no, because I'm going, this is, yes, I'm going to need this corridor in order to construct the one layer which has a single hole in the middle that has a hatch cover, a floor hatch in it, and then we want to go several layers. So this, then I think, what do we do then? Then I think we go mostly down inside that, and maybe we, yes, actually let's not worry too much about the lower layers from here. And let's do that layer first, and then go down inside the rubbish dump and hollow it out, and then probably dig our way back out of that. Right. Meanwhile, the trade depot can go up here somewhere. Let's have it off to the left, because that gives us a bit more space. So trade depots are quite large buildings. They're 5 by 5, but I can still fit one of those into my thing. Then into one of my standard rooms. But actually I think I want to make this bigger, because I want to allow enough room for making the entrance way more complicated. Because if we can arrange that there are traps and such like in here, then that might catch more undead as they come in. So then we can, the nice thing about traps is that the merchants will be able to detect the traps, because they're treated as friendly. So that means we can lay out the traps in such a way that incoming enemies will pass straight through the traps, and incoming trade caravans will not, if we have enough space, which actually suggests we might want more space. Let's make it huge. No, not that. That's asymmetric. I don't like that. So yes, then the idea is we can do something like have the entrance here and the trade caravans if we ever ever get round to building the traps, have the trade caravans have to go round
There's a question
in a
about
loop.
priorities.
Oh yes, I was going to make this a higher priority, wasn't I? Let's do that. Because I think we might get a trade caravan soon, whereas well, that wasn't the correct thing to do. We might get a trade caravan soon, so yes, let's adjust that. So that gives us the space to put it in, and then we'll worry about how things get in, but that's probably an upward ramp there. But I don't want to... Actually, let's make it so I'll have some space there that will eventually be... So trade caravans awkwardly come with wagons, which are 3 squares wide. So we can't just use doors to block them off. We have to use more entertaining features. So we're going to have to start building drawbridges. Right, so that's some digging work to do. So I think that's all that's currently in need of scheduling. So let us unpause and then worry about what's going on and try to remember what else is happening in the fortress. So we're making some rock pots there for storing food. That sounds like a good plan.
Dried mushroom, and fresh mushroom.
Yes, eventually the dwarves will get pissed off with only having mushrooms to eat.
Hang on, I've cooked meal like that on purpose for guests. I have to get to like mushrooms. One person said afterwards, it tried to mushroom my head off.
And we can't operate the still yet because we need some pots to put the food in, but happily this is being worked on. Meanwhile, let's make some stockpiles to supply. No, we want a jeweler's workshop, don't we? If we're going to build, if we're going to start jewel encrusting things, because we have a bunch of jewels kicking around. And if we're going to try to buy things from a trade caravan, we're going to want some valuable goods to give to them. So that means that we're going to have to... That will thus make it worth encrusting things with jewels. Right. So we now have some space to put a trade depot. So if we put it there, then if necessary we can then put at least a line of traps between it and the outside world, or we could go for something like that. Let's put it in this corner, or even in this corner. Yes, because then what? Because the thing is that things coming in will probably tend to pass to either the entrance or let's put it there. I have reasons. Right, we need 3. We don't actually have enough limestone blocks, and I don't want to make it out of raw limestone. So let's tell our mason's workshop to make more blocks and to prioritise those over the doors. Prioritise the first batch of blocks over the doors. So let's have a quick wander around and see if there's have we got any more doors kicking around? Yes. Let's put more doors into the bedrooms. Just on principles that will make the bedrooms nicer. Still no dangerous looking animals around, which might suggest that now is a good time to dig our way to the outside world. Don't think we've actually got anyone who has jewellerying abilities at the moment. Watch and see, but right, we have some rock pots. Yeah, we probably don't have anyone whose job it is actually to engage in jewellery. So that might mean that I can now use our still down here. Why can't I be no empty food storage item? Didn't we just make a rock pot? Well, someone immediately decided to. We have 2 large limestone pots. Are those not food storage items? Oh, they've apparently already been assigned to. It may be that someone has gone, oh, a pot, I must fill it with mushrooms.
It's probable.
Yeah, given we have 2 store item in stockpile jobs, I wouldn't be surprised if those turn out to be fill pot with mushrooms jobs. You could, I suppose, watch one of the people who's storing an item in a stockpile to see what they're doing. That's someone hauling a lump of stone to a stockpile. That's fairly unexciting. Here's someone running around with a large who was running around with a larger limestone pot and is now hauling another lump of rock. So now down here in our food stockpile we can see there is a large limestone pot which appears to be empty. Well, I suppose that's a good start. Now someone can start putting things in it. Oh, look. Here's someone eating. See, dwarf sitting at a table. We've got random bits of plump helmet spawn kicking around in our dining room already. But yes, the dwarf will be marked as eating. The table contains a plump helmet because that is currently being eaten. And the dwarf is blissful dining in a great dining room. Dejected at the shortage of alcohol in our... Yes, it won't be for long.
Distracted after being kept from alcohol. I'm not sure that's the way around it works, but...
Yes, dejected as well. But feels satisfied at work and is blissful dining in a great dining room. Actually, we should probably mark the dining room to be made greater. Please smooth the walls and the floors of the dining room. Here comes someone else to eat. And there our grower picks up 1 plump helmet spawn to take and put away somewhere. So we need more pots, clearly. Where's the Craft Dwarf's workshop? It's up here somewhere, isn't it? Yeah, there it is. I mean, it doesn't... Oops, no. It doesn't even have a hotkey, make rock pot. Right, let's make 8 more pots. No one is currently idle. Just going, who should I give the job of jewellery to, I don't know, let's give it to Area Fashkarol because I can't remember. Well, they're already making rock pots. Someone who's doing something unexciting like storing items. ZPL. Jewellery. Yeah, actually enable both of them. Right. So now there's someone whose job it is to build the jeweller's workshop. So next to the jeweller's workshop, let us make a gem stockpile, which should actually only take rough gems. Because that will be supplying the gem cutting part of the business. Right, so meanwhile over here we have the beginnings of the rubbish dump, so let us dig downwards there. And then we'll want a hatch cover. Don't have any hatch covers at the moment. Oops. Why do I think L was a good key to press there? Maybe there's something I've forgotten to set up. So let us ask to make hatch covers. Make a couple of them because we probably have another use for them. Right. Meanwhile, what's going on up here with our trade depot? Now I should be able to build a trade depot, which I'm going to put here, out of 3 limestone blocks. So, the current situation is, oh right, we have a bunch of rhinoceros corpses outside. So, if we're, yes. Somehow manages to be.
Rhinos are equipped with nose tools.
Yes, indeed, rhinos have nose tools. Thank you.
The thing I like to know is if we're taking stones out of a horse's hoof.
So yes, there's a question of, well, I should actually. So I don't like this thing of having walls that appear to be made out of roots. That just feels. I mean, I appreciate that they probably are technically solid, but I just don't like them. So I'm also going to make this corridor a bit longer, just to give myself a bit more space to work in. And then I think we want to build a drawbridge, or possibly 2, just to be on. No, drawbridges are pretty powerful actually, in that corridor, and then have it operated by a lever a fairly long distance away, which means we're going to need some mechanisms. Have I got any mechanisms? I think so. I have got a mechanics workshop somewhere, haven't I? Yes. Okay, no, it has. What exactly is being done with that limestone mechanism? That maybe tells me that's some exceptional limestone mechanisms, but doesn't actually allow me to find out what the job is that's being done with it. Oh, what's going on with that well then? Do I just not have anyone who's... I bet I don't have anyone who has building designer enabled. Let's turn on architecture, see if that gets some work done. Yes, mechanisms are fully general purpose. Well, I mean, I say fully. Anything you need a mechanism for, a mechanism can be used for it. So this one will work just as well for operating the well, which is what it's, or at least one of them is dedicated to, as for instance, operating a trap. But I'm going to need more mechanisms, because I'm at the very least going to need a mechanism to operate, 3 mechanisms to operate the trapdoor in the rubbish bin, and 3 mechanisms to operate the drawbridge in the thing. You know the thing. In the trade depot. So a thing for auto cut gems, I wonder, I can't remember. So yes, that's waiting for an architect, because the person I assigned to be an architect is busy doing other things. But that's fine. It'll get built eventually. Right, so my dwarf there is now cutting some gems. I'm not sure what will apply. I don't recall large pots are weirdly valuable. No, I think I don't know the value of anything yet. Yes, I think I need to start digging out some offices and such like, because I could do with a broker before we try to of course I didn't give anyone any relevant skills, so let's just pick someone more or less arbitrarily. I could also do with bookkeeper, so let's pick someone else more or less arbitrarily. Bookkeeper, though, requires an office, so well, we'll dig out an office. And I think that requires a table, but let's make a table and a chair just to be on the safe side. Meanwhile, that digging has kind of got started, and then everyone got distracted. The broker has turned purple. Why are so many dwarves thirsty?
These people, is this a system in which thirsty means sober or dehydrated?
Dehydrated. Pretty much all of them are.
You departed too quickly, Simon. Firefied with 2 androids dream of electric jeeps.
Let's make sure there's a water source at that level as well. I think it might be something embarrassing, like the reservoir filled up so much that that the dwarves didn't believe that they could get anything out of it, because the place where they were meant to get water out of it was now underwater. The idea of going, maybe we should get water at a different level, was too confusing for them. Yes, look, here are all the dwarves going and drinking, because now they understand that it's possible to drink. Stoats. Meanwhile, has anyone built that well? No, we're still looking for an architect.
Seems to be exceptionally easy because he's done it.
Yes.
child with a computer program. Sometimes they'll be deliberately perverse because they get ideas into their own head, and sometimes they will just fail to understand something that you forgot to spell out explicitly.
Right, so that's dealt with the dwarves who are in danger of becoming dehydrated owing to confusion.
Good night. Good night. Good night, people in earshot.
Good night. So I think I, of course, want a door there. So I can then ask to build a bridge here, which seems kind of, may seem like a kind of weird thing. But bridges are one of the few things that you can have to make a door or door equivalent that's wider than one square, well, wider than two squares, because you can have pairs of doors. And so I want to build a drawbridge here, essentially, to block off this entrance. And a bridge essentially is a thing that converts between an n by m floor and an n square wide wall. So I think what I want to do here is to build a 3 by 1 bridge, so it converts from a floor to a wall when a lever somewhere else is operated. With a mechanism. So there is now a scheduled bridge. I think this will work, but we'll experiment with it a bit before we go and actually dig out the hole beyond it into the world outside, and just check that we can open and close it sensibly, and we can understand when it's open and when it's closed. So now we have some jade in there. If I add a job to that to encrust with gems, and just say encrust a random item of furniture. No, that says finished goods. I've meant a random item of furniture. Well, see if you can find a finished good to encrust with gems as well.
Having gems, or do they just like turn up as by magic?
We mine them.
You've got a question about how rubbish dumpers doing.
Oh yes, I should go and have a look at that. Thank you. Right, so yes, I think all my miners are busy doing other things at the moment. Yes, everyone has jobs that aren't mining that they can do as well, and they're all doing the jobs that aren't mining. This is fine.
So this is actually fine, not the this is fine and the thing on fire.
Yes.
Okay.
That needs an architect as well. I'm fairly sure I've given someone the job of architecture. So, how are we doing for that with that office? That's another bit of mining that someone needs to do, isn't it? But yes, you can see that the food stockpile is now a lot more sensible. We have what is described as a plant pot, which means a pot full of plants, i.e. a pot primarily full of plump helmets. And there's another one there. And now everything is being piled into those two. And there goes a dwarf picking up a bunch of plump helmets and stuffing them into a pot. And they've now realised that they can put more things into the stockpile, bringing them down from the farm, I suspect. Right, that's the door into the trade depot built. Oh, we have a new expedition leader. How curious. Someone has being elected. A bunch of people are sleeping. And so now we can see that, oh, that hasn't been made into a bedroom. Well, let's make that into a bedroom then. That one's already a bedroom and now has an owner. That one doesn't even have a bed. Not sure if I should adjust that one. Stick a door in between those two bedrooms as well, because that will probably make people happier. But like, if we inspect these people now, they will probably no, hang on, I mean VZ. So she's embarrassed because her room was not officially designated to be a bedroom. It's now designated as a bedroom, which will probably make her happier. Yes. One is being embarrassed that their bedroom was not officially designated as a bedroom. She, on the other hand, feels blissful after sleeping in a very good bedroom because her bedroom is officially a bedroom. And we can see the list of bedrooms here and see that most of them are officially modest. But there is one that is actually a thank you, it's a bed. What's the zoom to building? So that bedroom is actually quarters rather than merely modest quarters, because at least half of its floor has been smoothed, which makes it more valuable. So, right, so there we can see that door is now installed. Right, so we didn't have any.
People ask how many floors it takes to change the light bulb. Actually, it takes just one, and it's glowing.
Yes, I noticed.
Hello, stream.
Right, so someone has now designed our well. The architect has turned up and stared at it for a bit. So now we just need a mason to build the well. Meanwhile, our jeweller has picked up a chair, I think, and is taking it off, possibly a table, and has taken it off to be encrusted with gems, which I'm sure will cheer someone up. And someone is finally digging out the broker's office. So that's nice. So our architect now designing a bridge. Not yet, no. What on earth is going on in that room? All sorts of weirdness. It's got snails and thrips and a snail and a beetle and a snail. Yes, we really do have a bit of a vermin problem around the peaks. Yes, I think cats probably do eat snails. So if we can ever have any visitors here, if we can get our architect to come and architect us a drawbridge to allow us to let people into the trade depot, then that might improve matters a little. What are you doing then? You're off constructing a building. What's the building you're constructing? Aha. So here's our expedition leader constructing the trade depot.
Is every animal a standard size, or do they have different?
Almost all animals are a standard size, with one exception, which is a rather weird exception, which is the wagons that traders bring their stuff in are technically animals and are 3x3 rather than 1x1. Everything other than a wagon occupies precisely one square, so they're the same size in that they take up the same amount of space. Though they're not the same size in that they have different weights and such like. Right, so there we now have a trade depot. So now I have a new key that I can press. capital D, which tells me that my trade depot is inaccessible. There is almost nowhere that you can get to my trade depot from because, well, it's underground. That's fine. We're working on making it safe to open the door. What's that little red cone on there? Oh, sweet pods growing naturally underground. That's interesting. We might be able to get some seeds from them. Right, so Mason there is now constructing us our drawbridge. Right, we now have a drawbridge. It starts in the open state. Which I can actually test by pressing depot access and seeing that it's possible for a wagon to get past the drawbridge. So now what we need is a lever, or some means of operating the drawbridge, which should probably be a lever somewhere. It's useful to have levers somewhere where there are plenty of dwarves around, so the dining room is often a good place. So let us add a lever in the corner of the dining room.
Does it have to connect to anything like chains and pulleys and things?
Yeah, by magic. You install a mechanism at each end and they are connected by means we do not understand.
Well, given how much fiddly whatever in this game, I'm surprised you would install cogs and different
Oh yes, yes. If you want to transmit anything other than a signal, if you want to transmit force, you need to start building mechanism, building shafts and gears.
Just take somebody else to open it.
Yeah, the levers work by Wi-Fi or something like that.
Okay.
So yes, I should choose a high quality limestone mechanism to build the lever that's in the dining room, because that will make the dining room a nicer place to be. Then once that's built, we will connect it to the drawbridge. Meanwhile, someone has dug that hole, so now let's put a floor hatch over the hole. And then actually I think I want to wall that in and then go down a level, right. I didn't really know how I was going to construct this when I started, so I'm being a bit... So then the level below that, I think I should then clear out. That's not the level that gets wet. See, dwarves are happily moving rocks around. Hollowing out down there. Right, we need now to build. So I think the approach I'm going to take to operating that floor grate is to place a pressure plate just at the entrance to the rubbish dump. So as I said, it will operate as a pedal bin, that every time someone goes in or out, it will briefly open the hatch to drop things down into the depths. So I want it to trigger on citizens, including dwarves, and no need for it to operate if we accidentally flood this area with water or magma. So I think that's the correct set. I want it to be a resetting floor pressure plate, and I should probably put it inside the door. Yes. So I think there's a small benefit to putting it outside the door, so let's put it there. And I don't know that I care very much about the quality of this one. I suppose it's probably a better one, more important one than the one that operates the hatch itself. Have we got any spare doors kicking around? No. Build more doors. Always need more doors. Because I want... One thing I've learnt from the previous fortress is watertight separation, or rather zombie-tight separation of rooms. It's really important that we should be able to make sure that people don't get into the same area, stuck in the same area as a zombie because I haven't got enough doors. Right. So let us construct a chair and a table in that office, in that room that will become the broker's office. And designate it for smoothing when someone gets a chance. What on earth route are you taking to get that lump of rock up to the stockpiles? I mean, right, so how are we doing for... Right, we have a lever now, so let us connect that lever to a bridge. There's only one bridge, we want to connect it to that bridge. What do we want to use in the bridge? People are going to be seeing it. Let's give it a reasonably high quality mechanism at each end. Right. So now someone will come along and link those up. And then we can test them, and then if they seem to be working properly, we can start digging out to the outside world, which currently only has a weasel in it. So now will probably be a good time to do that. So here we can see a dwarf installing the mechanism at the bridge end, collecting another mechanism to install the lever end, and now we have a lever which we can pull. So let us schedule a task of pull the lever. There, and there someone pulled the lever. You can see it flip from being an O grave to an O acute. So, has that done anything? That has not changed the accessibility state of the depot. Okay, let's try pulling the lever again. When someone has a chance. Right, lever pulled again. Okay, now I need to... So, I mean, I think that must be operating the bridge correctly. I'm in the... How do I tell which state the bridge is in? I clearly should just have wasted the extra money and made it bigger so that I could easily see whether it had changed shape. Yes, I think Jacob is entirely correct. My plan is to well, maybe not vitrify the zombies, but you know, I can eventually. But yes, to seal them in. Let's just have a look in the Dwarf Fortress wiki about bridges and see if I can remember. Well, look up how you tell what state one pixel, one square bridge is in. Bridge. If you aren't sure whether or not a 1 tile thick bridge is raised or lowered, try to build a piece of furniture like a statue on it. If it says blocked, the bridge is raised. If it says building present, the bridge is lowered. Cute suggestion. You can also link another longer drawbridge to the same lever to use as an indicator.
What? This is slightly bonkers.
So what I think I should... Yes, so if I try to build... doors or something I have in quantity. If I try to build a door there, that says building present, and according to the wiki, building present means that the bridge is, it says blocked, it's raised, building present, it is lowered. So that means that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a name to that lever, which says that when it's to the left, it means that the front door is open. And then I'm going to operate the lever. And then I'm going to check that that does actually cause it to change to saying blocked rather than building present. Right. What an entertaining user interface. I can't actually remember. There's some reason why you want to build lots of statues, but I've forgotten what it is. It might just be to distract building destroying monsters. Right, so I could have made this a high priority pull lever job, but right, so that room, have I got a door I can... Yes, let's stick a door in there. What have I got that I... Now that... Oh yes, I can build a floor hatch. It still says building present. I mean, admittedly a floor hatch is weird, but... Slightly suspicious that my drawbridge isn't working correctly. Oh well. Meanwhile, that pressure plate has been put in place, so let us link that up to a hatch, namely that one. Put a cheap limestone mechanism in the thing and a better one in the trap, and also channel out a hole above there to let us throw things in there, and let us deepen this, which will probably cause it to start flooding. So actually let's make sure I've got lots of blocks available. So I've currently got 8 blocks kicking around in there, but I need enough to wall all of that off, which is like 28. That's quite a lot. Right, make lots of blocks. That's the correct number of blocks. Excellent. Right. I'm trying to avoid flooding this rubbish dump as well. How's he doing at being a mason? Currently a talented mason still. So here is someone linking up the trapdoor. Yes. I feel that we should be getting some visitors sometime soon, but I'd like to. So what's going on with this drawbridge? Do I trust it, or do I dismantle the whole lot and try again, this time making it more obvious what's going on? Sorry, let's make it more obvious what's going on. This won't cost us any resources, it just costs time. But which might be unfortunate if someone turns up and wants to sell us things, but... So meanwhile, we've got a door there. Let us now turn this into office for our broker who wanted an office. I think that did what I wanted. Let's check by saying, oops, no, our broker still has requirements. Holdings no office. What? Did I just make one?
Can you get comedy with one dwarf
Oh,
standing
right.
on the grate such that when another dwarf ambles over the pressure plate, there is comedy?
That would be that would be comedy. This is another reason for putting the hatch one floor down from everything else, so that there will not be dwarves unless they're being particularly stupid standing on it. What I have failed to do, I think. Current owner thing broker. Well, let's free it and try to work this out again. So I have a dining room, and the dining room is centred on a table, yes. So if we ask to build a room based on a chair, what we get is an office. I'm fairly sure of that. So now if I look at rooms, we have an office with no owner. Excellent. So now if I assign that to our broker, that should mean the broker has what they need. That meanwhile says holdings no office. Was it on thingamy? What's name? Yeah, Ineth. Hang on. That's it. I might be just being a complete idiot and read. It's the bookkeeper who wants an office. Broker, Stokeface. Bet people have been telling me that all over IRC and I wasn't paying attention. Right. Right. Assign it to bookkeeper. Right. Now my bookkeeper is happy. The bookkeeper needs a meagre office and has an office, and thus can bookkeep. I feel I should probably put some more stuff in the dining room. Right, so let us engage in some more construction. So construct that lever. That bridge is still being deconstructed. The pressure plate is probably hooked up now. 2 mechanisms in it. We've got a spare door I can stick here, yes. So that now means that whenever anyone walks over that pressure plate, it will open the hatch. So now I can stick a wall in there. We still haven't got enough blocks to do all the things I want to do though. So then we will essentially have the floor hatch will be on a floor in a one square sealed off room with just an opening above it. And the hope thus is that no one will end up standing on it at embarrassing moments. Actually, we should watch when someone decides to build that door and check that here's someone coming with the door and check that the floor hatch operates when they walk over the when they walk over the pressure plate. So we can see that at the moment the floor hatch is closed and the pressure plate is bright pink, indicating that it hasn't triggered. So they've now stepped on the pressure plate has turned dark pink, and the floor hatch is opened. And then in a little while the floor hatch closes again, and then it opens again as they walk past, and closes again. Right, working floor hatch. See, my mechanisms can work. Meanwhile, about that bridge. Right, so we want a raising northward one would have the advantage that it would probably tend to throw things out of the fortress rather than in. Whereby things I mean creatures. But raising inwards drawbridge just seems so much more like normal. Right, so here is our 2x1 bridge, merely in order to make it more obvious what it's doing. It only needs 2 limestone blocks anyway. Right. So, quite a lot of limestone blocks there. Let's start channeling out the next layer down in Rubbish Dump Mark II. I've got... No, I don't like that. I should surely be able to convert the upstair into an up-down stair.
How do the walls get to the Rubbish Dump Mark II? Do they wrap all down to the hatch?
Well, the idea is that they don't go down to the hatch. They stand at the level above and hurl things in. Yes, that's the theory.
And you've got the pedal bin mechanism to.
And so the point is that they come in on the floor above, throw things into the hole where they'll then land on the hatch, and then as they leave, they trip the mechanism which opens the hatch and drops things into the chamber below. So most of the time the hatch is closed, thus not letting miasma out of the pit and not letting weird gribbly things that have come to life out of the pit. And so yes, now what we want to do is at this level we want to dig one level further out and start installing walls. Because it is going to flood down here. Actually, I need to be a bit careful. So it was that That's the upward slope that goes up to there, so I should be a bit careful and not muck around with that too much just yet. So now we come along to wall in the aquifer before it floods things too badly. You can see there's a small amount of water getting in down here, but because this is an aquifer so light it isn't officially an aquifer, it's not going to cause any serious flooding. It's just that if I leave it unsealed forever, then the rubbish dump will eventually fill with water, and then things will be able to swim around in it, and maybe they'll be able to get out. And yes, I could probably install some pumping system to drain it, but it's a lot easier just to stop the water getting in the first place. See, of course, grabbing lots of blocks and bringing them down here. So I think now what I actually want to do is to build a ramp. No. The slight thing of want to not accidentally make it impossible to get out of here. You can build staircases downwards anyway. So we're gradually walling off this layer of the rubbish dump. Meanwhile, everyone's too busy hauling blocks around to get around to doing anything with my drawbridge. Yes, I'm going to seal off the lower layers of the rubbish dump once it's ready. I'm going to dig it quite deep as well. Indeed. I think what I want to do is to work out how to...
It could be a backlog.
If I asked to carve a downstair there, does that... As if I asked... what I want to do is convert this upstair into one up-down stair, which should just involve digging through the floor, but if I ask for an up-down stair I can't get one. So let's assume that what this means is that if I add a downstair to an upstair, I get an up downstair. Let's find out. I can't remember how this works. Of course, if it does turn out to act, yes, right, that works precisely like I thought it would. So now I can continue that staircase downwards. Let's make this about 4 levels deep. Have it going down into the rock. Of course, we have to wall off the staircase, the construction staircase as well. We need more blocks. I know the stone's damp. Digging through an aquifer. It's not an aquifer like in earlier versions of Dwarf Fortress, where they were really terrifying. So now we can, now this layer, sorry, just spotted something else I can designate for removal. So now this layer is basically a big hole, so we can wall off the construction staircase from the rubbish dump. Actually start channeling through the floor of this layer. Right. Let's clear out that layer and then we'll work out where to go next.
But the problem is we know that dwarfs like things that menace with spikes. So,
yes.
This is not helpful. It doesn't deter wolves.
Yes, it is. The aim here is, I mean, it's going to turn out that I get no interesting creatures in my, well, actually no, if I want to start things getting interesting, I start slaughtering the pigs. And then we actually need this place. And the dwarves are going to get fed up with it living entirely off mushrooms soon. You can see there's a small amount of mist, which is probably cheering the dwarves up actually. You watch the dwarves around here. Oh no, she's just satisfied at work. God, is someone going to want me to actually sort out like religion in this place? There's mist from the digging out the muddy ground. Now of course there's a bunch of rock that can be dug out. So now that layer's clear, so we can cut through there and install a wall at that layer. And then we can dig down another layer. There does seem to be some damp there. Worries me a bit. It's fine to go down one more layer while I work out what I'm doing. Question is damp limestone at this layer anything to worry about? Is that going to seep water into my fortress, or is it just because there's some water outside somewhere? Right, so now that layer has the staircase nicely sealed off from everything else. We carry on downwards. Summer has arrived on the calendar. I think it's autumn when you usually start getting visitors. I mean, autumn on the calendar rather than rather than in the real world, because we're in the tropics here. So yes. Laptop starts taking off as it saves. Has my drawbridge turned up yet? I don't know, I'll have a look. Once saving has finished. Right.
One has arrived on the calendar.
Yes. We're in that state where the game briefly doesn't respond to keyboard input. Right, so where's my drawbridge? It's right up near the surface. Yes, that looks like a drawbridge. So, that is obviously in the down state. Link up a bridge, link up that bridge. Link it up with a reasonably decent limestone mechanism at both ends. So the thing that's slightly worrying me then is whether this damp stone here is anything to worry about. I think I'm going to assume it isn't, but we may yet be embarrassed by discovering that halfway up the wall is somewhere that we need to seal up. Possibly thus we don't... that would be ugly. So that's that layer cleared out. So now it's looking like a great big open space, which is what I want. Major problem is, of course, it's full of stones. And I don't really want to lose all this lovely rock. I may have to just designate some large areas of uninteresting fortress as stone stockpiles, merely so that the dwarves will haul this lot out. So the amount of water we've got around is very small still, so I think I'm going to assume that that damp wall is not seeping. And just keep going down. In much the same way as I have been. And I don't really know how deep this wants to be, but just making it go down as far as the rest of the fortress goes down. So let's kind of gratuitously install some stone stockpiles around the stairs. Simply to encourage the dwarves to shift some of the stone out of the rubbish dump. Well, they're certainly shifting stone out of the rubbish dump. That's nice. Well, that's probably because someone has has walled off the rubbish dump, but not yet cut through the new entrance to the next layer down. There we are, right. So, I think that lever is now connected up, yes. So, drawbridge currently open. Pull the lever. Our one problem is, of course, that the dwarves are now clearing all the other stone out of the fortress. Wherever there is stone that's not in a stockpile is getting hauled up to the new stockpiles built around the staircase, mostly for the purposes of absorbing the rubbish from the rubbish. So has someone pulled the lever yet? No. Because everyone's busy moving stone around. But that's actually going to be empty of stone in due course, which is nice. Until we dig further down, of course. Get more limestone out. People now being happy about sleeping in a proper bedroom. No, that's not what I meant. I meant the blissful after sleeping in a very good bedroom. Blissful after sleeping in a very good bedroom. Yes. This is what we like. Happy dwarves. Right, where is everyone? Everyone's still lugging stone around, yes. And digging deeper into there, good. So this is the last level that I had planned to dig out. Looks like it's drying, so I'm fairly confident we've successfully sealed this. If there were 2 or 3 damp squares, and there's now 1, which has 1/7 water in it. Yeah. So yes, I think the potentially worrying leaks higher up are not actually worrying. That's now all cleared out, so let's just stick a wall in at that level for prettiness. Yeah, I think the wall's damp simply because the water has been running down the inside of it as we've dug deeper, so that's nothing to worry about. So the lever has been pulled and the bridge has changed state. And, okay, this bridge is working much better than the previous one. And now the depot, the trade depot, is not shown as connected to that corridor. Right. And there is 1 undead monitor lizard out there. Not just a weasel, sadly. Well, let's finish doing some other jobs first, and then we will be slightly brave, but only slightly. Confine the dwarves to quarters. So they're just removing, the dwarves are just removing the ramps from the edges of the rubbish dump simply to make it look prettier. Right. And now let us wall off the bottom floor. Oops, no, what on earth have I made that wall out of? Actually pay attention to the ingredients I'm using. Blocks, please. Right. And now we have this large vertical room. That can be the new rubbish dump, and we can turn off the old one and put a floor over it. And then maybe mark something for dumping so we can prove that it works. Right. So we put a new, mark this as being a rubbish dump. Like that. And unmark, well, and deactivate that dump. Now the problem is I need an object I don't want to keep. We don't have any objects we don't want to keep here. Oh, should we could be brave and slaughter a pig. Actually, don't we have more of a problem? Don't we have a starving water buffalo? Oh no, because we have actually got grazing land. They can graze off the cave moss and the fungus and so forth. So we don't actually eat. We could even keep cows down here.
Do you have enough butchers?
I can't remember if I've actually got anyone assigned to butchery. Yeah. Actually,
I still haven't got over.
Got over.
Yes. It's still very traumatising.
we still don't have any booze, do we? Let's sort that out. Brew drink from plant is actually available, right? Let's set someone doing that then. And I shall also undesignate those stockpiles around the stairs, which were just there to get all the rocks out of the old rubbish dump, out of the new rubbish dump. Let's build a floor over where there was a hole in the floor for the old rubbish dump. But we can maybe use the space inside it later. But we don't need to right now. Is that another bit of random? No, I'm confused. Right, yeah, right, that now has a floor. So this square is now the limestone block floor, covering up the hole that we previously used as a rubbish dump, which incidentally means I may as well delete it. Right. So I think we should try slaughtering a pig because we're going to want some. We could slaughter one of the animals that we can't breed from anyway. Let's slaughter a camel. So camel ready for slaughter, yes. So here is someone who has been assigned to the job of slaughtering the camel, collecting the camel, taking it to the butcher's shop, and bang! Immediately converted into a large pile of parts. So the butcher's shop now contains the first garbage dump contains nothing at all, curiously. So this now contains a bunch of vaguely useful things which can be converted into food, but also for instance, some stray one-humped camel cartilage that is of no use to anyone. So I can hit D to flag that for deletion.
Does deletion mean someone
I mean
wants
dumping.
to dump?
Yes. The hair might be useful. Nervous tissue is not very useful.
Oh yes, you don't want camel prions. Really.
I'm not sure. The bones should be okay. The skin will probably rot unless we start actually doing something with it. Right, observe here. This dwarf here is dumping an item. So what can we do? We can go. One of the objects they're carrying is some nervous tissue. I can then press F to follow the nervous tissue, I think. No, I'm following the person. Oh. Well, anyway. They go there, and the hatch is open, and the nervous tissue has fallen all the way down here. And then, in a moment, the hatch closes again. Go on, it does. There. So we have a successful means of dumping things in there, which end up way down here. Stray one-humped camel, nervous tissue, stray one-humped camel, cartilage. So there are bits of animals that can come to life. Those bits that we just discarded are completely useless. I'm going to quickly look up what other parts can come to life because I'm cheating. So hair and skin can come to life, and indeed shells, but camels don't have shells. So I think while we don't have a use for them, I'm also going to dump.
Does camel hair or not?
It might do. We don't need to worry about. Curiously, we don't need to worry about. I don't think we need to worry about skulls. Plus, bones and skulls we can do useful things with. Where's our workshops? I can't remember. Might be refuse. I shall make a small stockpile near to our Craftsdwarf's workshop and then go. What are the actual settings I want to allow us to store bones in there? Right, we do not want to store complete corpses. Really not. Forbid corpses. Forbid body parts. Allow skulls and bones. And for now, not shells, teeth, horns or hair. And then we'll discover whether skulls do anything exciting. But we can carve things out of skulls. What's that lying around there? Oh, that's our camel fat. I think we're going to need some more pots. Let's set someone to work on making more pots. If I inspect an object now, do I get a value for it? No. I think we don't get to discover the value of items until the first trade caravan actually arrives. On which subject? There are only outdoors camels. Right. We are going to open the drawbridge. I'm going to gratuitously mark that as a high priority task so we can see how high a priority it gets. That's pretty quick. And the drawbridge opens. now I want to mine. I want to dig an up ramp. I think I want to dig it there. But we need to be a bit careful because the moment that the dwarves can get outside, they are liable to go outside. So I think what I want to do is watch very closely, and when the first dwarf passes through the door, lock it behind them. So 2 dwarves are currently assigned to that digging, which is a bit unfortunate. The first dwarf has passed through the door, so I'm now going to lock that door. Right, so now we have an actual connection to the outside world, which is a bit dangerous, but it only contains perfectly normal living camels at the moment. So, hope. Right, and now the ramp has been dug, and if I now hit depot access, depot accessible. So these are all the places on the map, we're now at ground level, where it's possible to access our trade depot from, and you will observe that that's most of the world. If you are bringing a I'm lost now, down there. If you are bringing a 3x3 caravan wagon with you. So now I unlock that. I'm now going to watch quite carefully. My hope is that the dwarf who's on the wrong side of the drawbridge will now come onto the correct side of the drawbridge. What are you doing? Don't you have homes to go to? Right, I'll now come to the correct side of the drawbridge, and now I can operate the lever again. And since they're now on the correct side of that door, lock that door. Actually, now that I've got that door locked, I should not operate the lever. Someone's already operated the lever, so I'll probably see the drawbridge flap to the closed position in a moment. Because if I leave that drawbridge, I think there's a slight danger that if I leave the drawbridge closed, the merchants will turn up, and the same turn they appear will go, "Oh, we can't get in, we'll go away again," and not give me a chance to open the door. So, and to be on the safe side though, I'm going to build a wall this side of the door, so that if it turns out that something nasty turns up that can knock that door down, and I don't manage to close the drawbridge fast enough, it will just run into a wall. So that should be fine. Right. So this is all good. Our food store is still filling up with mushrooms. Yes, I was going to add another chair and table to my dining room because it's fairly busy. It's our carpenter's workshop. I'm now forgetting where everything is. Fortress is getting too big. That's the mason's workshop. And generally it's worth having a bit of spare furniture around. and
Do the merchants have fixed inventory, or are they basically an infinite shop interface?
they have whatever inventory they happen to bring with them. So
It could
they
be
are
helpful, it could be,
they are by no means infinite, but it's not fixed either.
and they could bring you 200 tons of plump helmet, and you'd be like,
Thank you. Yes, you can influence what they'll bring after their first visit, because an outpost liaison turns up who asks you what you would like and what you're willing to pay over the odds for. So they will, on their second visit, we can actually encourage them to turn up with what we want, and they will tell us what kind of things they want to, they would like to buy from us. Let us add some tasks to make some bone crafts, and also a totem, which is what you make out of a skull. Don't know if I've got a bone carver mind. Who should be a bone carver? The usual thing of pick someone who's not currently working. Oh, you're already a bone carver. Excellent. Aha! We have some undead camel hair and camel skin in our rubbish dump. Good. I don't think it's very dangerous because A, it's sealed in there, and B, it's a bit of undead hair.
did these things just spontaneously zombify that?
Yes, because we're in a an evil biome,
First.
because we're in a haunted area. Yes, dead things will become slightly less dead.
Undead, did it for me. Right. What a great place to be, etc. How can you be in this place?
Well, yes, you can continue being even after you have ceased to be. Aha, we have a working well as well, I think, finally. So we can set up the area around our well to be a meeting hall. Which we might like. Kind of tempting now to just floor over the remaining water access in there. Save anyone accidentally drowning in it. So let's just dump a lump of floor there. Oh, we haven't got enough limestone blocks to build that. More blocks. So I see that there's a swarm of flies in the rubbish dump already. Oh, I've just remembered that if we get cats, cats are excellent climbers. So if anyone is going to manage to break into the rubbish dump and cause trouble, it's going to be a cat. Oh well, we'll have to make sure we have the usual problem with cats is you end up getting too many of them. So if occasionally they fall into the rubbish dump and zombify down there,
I was going to
so
say,
be it.
you end up with something like, you see the cat play with the undead camel hair, or something like
Yes.
that.
I wonder how good they are at falling. So yes, what I probably need to do soon is to carve out some more offices and appoint a manager and such like, so that we can, because the manager allows you to do a load of useful things. Traditionally, I just appoint my expedition leader as manager. So the manager needs an office, yes. So we'll carve out an office for the manager as well. And the manager means that I can do things like say, we should always try to arrange that we have this much of this in stock, and we should set people building things if we don't already have the materials and such like. So we should try to ensure that we have a couple of doors in stock at all times. I think, as I recall, this sort of silliness is possible. We're going to need soap, aren't we, soon?
Yes, if girls like to wash.
Yeah. Of course, if the undead hair stays where it is, it's going to get clonked on the complete absence of head by the next thing we throw in there. Falling object damage is surprisingly painful in Dwarf Fortress. So.
Undead hair?
Yes.
With an absence of head? Are we talking hair?
Yes.
Okay.
So it doesn't have a head. Yes.
Okay. I didn't know it was undead rabbit or something.
No, not yet.
Okay, fine.
Apparently it's on their camel.
So we can, of course, now say what are our stocks of things, but we should probably I should turn up my so the stocks you'll see are a bit vague at the moment. So they say, well, we've got kind of about 20 items of armour. We've got 7 blocks. There are kind of about 70 in existence, and so forth. That's because our bookkeeper is not bookkeeping very hard. But what we can do is to say bookkeep harder. Turn up your precision a little so that you can at least count up to 100 reliably. Perhaps more usefully, this means we can actually see the individual objects under the stock keeping page. Yes, the manager's office is right next to the zombie infested fly pit, but there's a solid limestone wall between them. It will be fine. Oh, some migrants have arrived. Right. I hadn't planned for migrants. Right. So what's out there in the world? There are no zombie-ish things out there in the world. So let us be welcoming. That mostly involves removing the wall that currently blocks up access between us and the outside world, so that the migrants can get in. Here comes someone to knock the wall down. Meanwhile, let's have a look at the migrants. Where are they? Oh, new arrivals, yes. So we have Fukar Channelurns, a miner who has 2 children, and is currently one of whom is Erdim's City Skins, she is sad at being separated from, so they probably haven't come with her. Indeed, it looks like she has left her 2 sons behind, given that neither of them appears able to be visited on here. We have Ming Thobarak, a woodcutter. No, that's the wrong button. Who is also sad at being separated from a loved one, but he has brought his wife with him. Dacost Adrilficod. So we have 1 incoming married couple and 1 single dwarf. looks like. And they've already managed to start giving themselves jobs, which is nice. Hope they'll then come indoors. Alright, we haven't knocked the wall down yet. Knocking walls down can take quite a long time. It's often longer than building them does. Once that's down, they should come in. Keeping a careful eye on the list of other creatures. Maybe it was a little overly paranoid to build a wall there. After all, if there were anything dangerous outside, it would be busy eating our visitors. Actually, while you're here, while you're standing around outside, how about you demolish our wagon for us? Is any of you a carpenter? Does any of you want to be a carpenter? You have no abilities yet. Become a carpenter. Right, if we're lucky, yes, that will now cause one of our new visitors to take on the job of dismantling our wagon into wood, which they can then bring indoors. There we are. And the wall has now come down, which now means there are conveniently 3 lumps of wood out there that someone needs to put into a bring into the wood stockpile. That someone needs to bring into the wood stockpile. Does no one think it's their job to do this? Are those forbidden or something? No. We've got a wood stockpile, I think. Like, it's not got much in it. And I've forgotten where it is. Excuse me while I try to remember where our wood stockpile is. Oh, there. Yes. See, wood stockpile. Oh, I need to unlock the door as well. Stoat face. Right, now, would you like to come in? That's not in, that's running away. Oh right, no, that's not running away, that is actually where the entrance is.
Right. Maybe stay around long enough to even get inside.
So now people are going out to pick up the wood, and my new arrivals have come in. Of course, we're now going to need some more bedrooms, aren't we?
So you require new dwarves?
Yes.
Not requiring new zombies?
Not listed as new arrivals there. There's one more piece of wood that needs to be collected. Which the expedition leader is going out to pick up. Right, let's just lock the door again. I think actually I'm going to just leave that in that state and not re-wall it. So we have now a requirement for more bedrooms, because we only have one spare room which doesn't have a bed in it, and we need rooms for 3 people. So let us, now that we've got some wood because we dismantled the thing, let us construct 3 beds. And dig out 3 standard sized bedrooms. 2 standard sized bedrooms because we've got a spare one already. Meanwhile, how's that office going? That's been carved out. Oh yes, do we have a table yet? Yes. So I'm putting a third table and chair into the dining room. And I shall make this into an office and assign that to our exposition leader and manager. And also say if someone would like to smooth the stone of that would be good too. Basically you have one person whose job it is to smooth off all of the stone in the fortress, which means she's now up to a novice, being a novice engraver, and may eventually reach the point of actually being good at this stuff, at which point she can start carving actual pictures into things. But right now she's just smoothing all the floors. So now that we have a manager who has the required office, I think that does allow for some insanely complicated things. So one thing that it would be nice to do, I can't remember how I do it, so what does a workshop profile do? That tells me who's allowed to work in which workshop. That's not interesting right now. So is it one of the settings I can see here? J, manager. So I can then say new work order. Work order should be cut. What was the thing that the gem that we had? I've forgotten. White jade. So if we go presume we can't just do cut gems in general though. Cut white jade. Perpetually cut white jade, but only okay, no, I don't want large white jades. Change item type. Amount of white jades available is at most 10. So that says cut white jade until we've got about 10 of them kicking around and then stop.
What did you encrust?
I think we encrusted a table, but I'm not sure. Hang on, let's have a look around. I think yeah, so that limestone throne there, the bookkeeper's throne, is a superior quality limestone throne which menaces with spikes of white jade, which will obviously make the bookkeeper happy. And then I think we can probably also say encrust furniture with white jade perpetually, and basically that will mean whenever we have furniture, and I mean I suppose I might want to set a condition that says when we have any supplies, but that should then mean that there's a perpetual encrust furniture with white jade job whenever there's any spare furniture around, and like doors, tables, chairs, beds, anything that happens to be lying around unattended may get grabbed and encrusted. Yes, we are breeding pigs. Excellent. Right. The world is full of giant tortoise corpses. Breeding pigs. That's all of the sand and such like on the surface. If you go higher, it gets a little less scary. So, yes, I don't think the giant tortoises are a problem. Yeah, they're moving still. See? Moving giant tortoises in the top left of the screen. Moving undead giant tortoises. All of my sows are now giving birth more or less simultaneously. We are thus in the throes of a pig explosion. But that's fine. That's what we brought them for. The reason why I bought 5 sows and 1 boar, or whatever it was in order that we could have a breeding population of pigs. So the small dark coloured peas there are newborn piglets.
Are they undead newborn piglets?
No!
Stop telling them.
If they were undead, then they would be flashing between a lowercase p and a capital N tilde.
A capital N tilde.
Is the symbol that means which means some kind of a undead or ghostly or what have you creature. A teal N tilde means undead. A bright white N tilde means ghost. You don't get pig ghosts though. So we've dug out the new things. We should, I think, have, as I was suggesting we should have, a work order that is construct rock door indefinitely as long as the condition that we have at most, I'll change the material to, say, I think 10 is probably a bit extravagant. So essentially every day, if we have if we don't have at least 4 doors kicking around, make more doors. And meanwhile, we are producing nicely cut jade and automatically scheduling jobs to encrust things. So we see here a slight problem. Notice that dwarf lugged that stone in from outside in order to start working on it in that workshop, even though there's a large amount of stone here. I think what I want to do is say give to there and to there. So essentially, I think what that will do is mean that people don't haul things in from a long way away. They instead take them from the nearby place stockpile, which is important for rocks because they're big and heavy. Right, so You can't make cages out of very much, can we? Just trying to think what I now fill the space around my trade depot with in order to discourage people from discourage creatures from getting in there. But the thing is, so we've got various kinds of trap we can make. The thing is that, for instance, cage traps, well, they require a cage and a mechanism. Strictly, they only require a mechanism to build, but they require a cage in order to be of any use. Weapon traps, similarly, we need weapons, and we don't really have a stock of weapons, and we don't have much that we can make weapons out of because we don't have many metals. So maybe, if we want to start making traps, we're going to need to go deeper. Because we're going to want to actually mine metals. So that's going to require sorry, I've just noticed that someone is lugging a mechanism over to the jeweller's workshop, so we're going to get a jewel encrusted mechanism soon.
Just a mechanism, just a mechanism.
It's just a mechanism.
Okay.
Mechanisms are general purpose.
Okay.
Like,
Also, your bottom left corner replacing a giant ox in it.
yes.
Is a nox.
No, that's a wall and then a staircase, a pillar and a staircase.
Okay.
The staircase was there for constructing the rubbish dump and is no longer required. But yes, so, and engraved mechanisms can be quite useful because encrusted mechanisms are quite useful because they will make people happy whenever they see them. Yes, we may well indeed mine forgotten beasts. Right, so yes, I think we should think about mining. So in the autumn there will probably be, have we got some beds we can put in these bedrooms while I remember? There will be the trade caravan. We can put doors into, excellent. A trade caravan along eventually. And we should smooth the new bedrooms eventually. My poor stone detailer has so much work ahead of them. Here come some dwarves to install the beds. And the doors. And then let's designate those as bedrooms. Right, so now our new arrivals, when they get tired, will have bedrooms that they can claim. They generally, bedrooms don't actually get owned until someone decides they want to sleep in them. There's someone going and sleeping, but that was in a bedroom they already owned. So if we look at the current quarters, there are 3 unowned bedrooms which correspond to the 3 we've just created, which will be claimed by our 3 new arrivals. If we want any more bedrooms, then we're going to have to find some wood, which might involve like being brave and going out onto the surface and cutting down trees, but not while the world's full of giant corpus tortoises. Or indeed tortoise corpses. Yes, Dizzy, you're entirely correct. The dwarves are foolish in this respect. That they, obviously what you do is you turn up, you immediately claim the best bed in the place, and then you worry about such things as getting dinner. But the dwarves only claim a bed when they actually want to sleep. I mean, to be fair, all the bedrooms are pretty much identical at the moment. And you'll see that the dwarves like just hanging around in their bedrooms when they have nothing else to do. That wasn't what I meant VZ return. But they like looking at the doors while they're there. Such happy dwarves. Oh, annoyed having a drink without using a goblet, cup or mug. Stone goblets. Can we make those at a craft dwarf's workshop? Noting that most of the materials we have here are stone. A rock mug, that's what we can make, yes. Make an enormous pile of mugs. In which case we should obviously add an encrust finished goods with white jade job. So that then when we've managed to make some mugs, they get encrusted with white jade when people foolishly leave them lying around. And then they will go, "Oh, what a lovely mug encrusted with white jade," and be happier. Plus we can sell them. So people are hanging around in kind of random places. Let us try marking that well as a meeting hall. Is that wise? Actually, can I make the dining room also a meeting hall? The dining room should also be a meeting hall. There we go. Now people will hang around in the dining room rather than wherever they happen to be. Which means they'll be near that lever in particular, which is nice. And they will socialise, which is nice. No one has anything to do. So maybe we should dig deeper. Maybe we should see if there's anywhere we're meant to be building a door, because we now have an automatic door production system, so it's actually worth installing doors so as to encourage the dwarves to make more of them. Right, that's all the doors we currently have available, because I think someone snatched one and started encrusting it with jade while I wasn't looking. We looked at our stocks. Notice that we can now understand the concept of 12. So this line, for instance, says that we have 12 available blocks and 64 blocks that are built into things. That's what some of those colours mean. So that they're walls and such like that we can't use anymore. Our body part collection consists of a stack of 14 stray one-humped camel bones and also some cartilage which has been discarded. You currently have 6 cut white jades, 2 as yet uninstalled doors. None of our doors is encrusted with anything. Now we're just going through here looking for anything interestingly decorated. So yes, we have one limestone mechanism that's encircled with bands of baguette cut white jades, in case anyone happens to want a mechanism with baguette cut white jades. None of the pots have yet been decorated. got a lot of limestone kicking around, which is good. A lot of pump helmet spawn, which is kind of neutral. Lots of rough white jade, no other gems. So many plants we can't count them. One willow logs that's busy. Is that the wall that separates us from our original entrance? Yes. You should at some point, when the outside world is safe, i.e. not now, knock that down so that we can reclaim the wood. Probably. Though, if the outside world's safe, we can go out and cut down a tree. Created a masterpiece limestone door. Who was that? Are they happy that they've created a masterpiece? Satisfied after producing a masterwork. She dreams of she dreamt of creating a masterwork someday, because this dream has now been realised. So she will be happy about this. Does that mean, what's her level of... She's still only a talented mason. It occurs to me that we could add another job of decorate with bone that will just generally encourage people to, since we have bones kicking around, to use the Craft Dwarf's workshop to decorate things. Those of Craft Dwarf's workshop is currently mostly full of making mugs, so that people stop whinging about not having mugs. Just opening that because general trying to keep connectivity reasonable in case we have to seal off areas. Did you pick the location closest to your workshop without considering how far you had to walk to get there? You strange dwarf. See that mug being picked up and taken over to the jeweller's workshop? I think it's being encrusted. Encrust finished goods with white jade. Goodness, all of the chairs and tables in my meeting hall are being used. My meeting hall in my dining room. What setting am I meant to have this in? I wonder. Right, I just accidentally pressed tab and now I'm going, well, what should I set that to? Anyway, so what else is going on? I think we want to play it. It's midnight in the real world, well, 1 minute past. So maybe what I want to do is to say everything is happy, no one is dying of anything. Yes, I have forgotten my mining plans. Thank you, Dizzyet. That was I was just about to say we should actually start paying attention to my mining plans. But I think perhaps what we should actually pay attention to is the fact that it's late and I should go to bed. So what I was going to do is to say, is that finished encrusting yet? Well, we have, for instance, I should start installing these doors. Superior quality limestone door menacing with spikes of white jade and such like. So there's somewhere where there's a missing door. Let's put the really nice door in there. And a door in there. And one there. And there. And there. So that's all of the places where doors ought to be on those levels, being equipped with doors, which will help with things if ever disaster strikes. Though so far this is being a spectacularly non-disastrous fortress. Right, so yes, I think things are reasonably comfortable. How do I find out what date it is? Late summer, so it will soon be autumn, and then I expect that we will get our trade caravan that we've been hoping for. Our broker will then become able to appraise things, and we'll have some idea how much money we have. We have 0 drink available, so I think anything that we brewed vanished quickly, and I should probably start setting up an automated job to brew drink. Actually, let's do that now. JMQ. Brew drink from plant. Only add a condition to that, which is add a condition. What? Conditions. Add item condition. I want it to be a amount of items. That's really not helpful. Change type. Drinks. Amount of drinks is at most 10. So if we have fewer than 10 drinks kicking around, then we will make more drinks. Rather, if we have no more than 10 drinks kicking around, then that will schedule a job to try to brew some. And indeed that has now created a brew a drink job. Right, okay, that was a useful thing. Okay, I think now it's our snoozing time. And we will save the fortress and come back next weekend, probably, and hopefully find a trading caravan. So, good night. Save. It'll be a little while. We've actually got machines to save now. And yes, the world information is stuff going on outside of my fortress, which Dwarf Fortress is diligently simulating, even though it has almost no effect on what I actually get to see. Right, good night. That is all for today.